Thank you and welcome to the celebration and the memorial of life of Cliff Good, a really down-to-earth person, husband, brother, uncle, son. Cliff's one of those people that Jesus referred to in the Sermon on the Mount as salt of the earth, a good, humble, and upstanding person. And today we're going to sing some of his favorite hymns. We'll hear a couple of Cliff's favorite scriptures, starting with one read by Kristen. And after Justin provides the eulogy and some memories, if anybody's so inclined to share their memories of Cliff, you're welcome to step up here, or if you're too shy to step up here, I will bring you a mic, and you can share with us your memories. Then we'll watch a video montage, and we'll hear some words from the family. And then at the benediction, I'm going to pray for the food so that when we're finished and after the family processes out, we can all continue our conversations and our celebration of life over in the fellowship hall together. And so right now, let's start off by praying together one of Cliff's favorite prayer. It's in your bulletin there. It's the Lord's Prayer. And it begins like this. Just pray with me, if you will, please. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. If you will open up those blue hymnals in front of you there to number 585, What a Friend We Have in Jesus, and let's sing together as Cliff watches and sings along. Kristen would like to come up.
Hello. So John 14, 1 through 6. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house there are many dwelling places. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and will take you to myself, so that where I am, there you may be also. And you know the way to the place where I am going. Thomas said to him, Lord, we do not know where you are going. How can we know the way? Jesus said to him, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
Number 628, Precious Lord, Take My Hand, verse 1. And now a reading from John 3, verse 16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, so that whoever believes in him may not perish, but may have eternal life. Amen. And now let's sing together number 552, Standing on the Promises of God. And now a reading of Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in right paths for his name's sake. And even though I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life long. Amen. And now, Justin, if you'll please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Justin Good. I am Cliff's oldest nephew on his side of the family. I'm going to read this here. It's, Clifford Price Good was born on October 8th, 1950 to Ronald and Lillian Good in Oakland, California. He was named after his grandfather. He was the third son of a family of 7 kids. There were 4 boys and 3 girls. He grew up in Castro Valley, California. He was raised in a Catholic family. He was a Boy Scout. He worked at the Chevron gas station a few blocks from the house when he was in high school. He graduated in 1968. He worked numerous jobs after he graduated. He was an iron maker, boiler maker, and worked for a paper product company. In 1971, he was hired by PG&E in gas construction. He became a heavy equipment operator. He loved his job most of the time, except when he had to travel and work out of town away from the family. He retired on February 29th, 2016 with 45 and a half years. Cliff's hobbies consisted of fishing, hunting, and camping. He loved the great outdoors. He was a diehard 49er football fan since he was 7 years old. He was also a big NASCAR fan. In 1979, Cliff and Sue met by a blind date set up by a mutual friend of theirs. Their first date was at a Lord's Ice Cream at the Village Shopping Center in Castro Valley. They got married May 9th, 1981 at First Christian Church in San Lorenzo. They would do some travel, camping, boating, fishing. They would also go to many concerts. On January 29th, 1985, their son was born at Eden Hospital in Castro Valley. He was the joy of both their lives. Cliff enjoyed being a dad. Taking a couple of vacations a year when Cody was growing up was good family time. When Cliff was able to, he would go watch and enjoy Cody play his different sport leagues. Cliff and the family joined a family bowling league, which he enjoyed and did for many years. In 2017, the family moved from Livermore to Sacramento. This was a tough transition for Cliff after living in the Bay Area all of his life. In mid-2022, Cliff's health started to change. He was diagnosed with supranuclear palsy. That was when we took driving away from him. It was a tough transition for him, but after a while he realized it was safer for everyone around. He had to go to using a walker and needed help getting around and needed help with everyday care. His health continued to decline year after year. May 20th, 2025 was his first trip to the ER. Then June, in July, ER again. He was in 2 different rehabs in between the hospital visits and trying to get stronger. He tried so hard to get stronger. But his body was just so tired and weak after all the trauma he went through. So on July 17th, we brought him home from the hospital under hospice comfort care. He was so glad to be home finally. The family was glad to have him back home too. Even though we knew the care we would have to give him would not be easy. For Cliff, some days were harder than others. They were also harder for the family. He would always try to stay positive, even on those tough days. Cliff would always try to thank us for whatever care we gave him. On November 29th, he stopped eating and slept most of the time. Then the morning of December 1st, Sue was with Cliff and he could hardly open his eyes. Sue talked to him and he opened his one eye and looked at Sue, and that was their last I love you and last goodbye. Passing moments later, he will always be missed by his family and friends. Thank you. I was just going to go ahead and just transition here, shift gears, and just some of the few memories I have of my Uncle Cliff. I grew up here in California, up in the mountains. We were probably 2.5 hours away from Uncle Cliff. Those of you know that when I was very young, 3, he looked a lot like my dad. My dad is, I think, 1.5 years or so older than him. And Uncle Cliff was a very imposing figure when you looked at him. As a child, my goodness, you were just scared. I mean, this big hulking man looking at you. But, when you knew him, he was a big teddy bear. But I remember as a kid thinking, oh my goodness, clinging to a mom's leg or something. But, that was Uncle Cliff. And I was at their wedding. I was my first big familial responsibility I had. I was 4 years old, and I was the ring bearer there along with my sister. I believe she was a flower girl. So that was one of my earlier childhood memories. I believe I was 4 or 5. And they got married down there. And like I said, we didn't come down a ton, but I remember Uncle Cliff, back in the days, if he wanted to talk to my dad, he had to go through the gatekeeper. My dad was always busy, so there was only one phone in the house, and us kids were probably fighting or something, so the phone would ring. And I would talk to Uncle Cliff, and he would always make sure to stop and talk to us and ask us how we were doing instead of just asking for my father. And I remember Christmas and birthday, every time Uncle Cliff's present showed up, I mean, we knew we had it made. I remember one year he had this big present for us. I think we were living in Garden Valley, California, which is not too far from here. And I opened it up, and it ended up being this humongous, I don't know if y'all remember the Tyco sets that they had, and they were kind of tracks that all clipped together, and they had these little deals, and we kind of destroyed the whole living room. My sister and I had that whole thing set up, and when the parents weren't real happy about it, but when I talked to him and I told him what a mess we were making and stuff, and how I was racing my sister and my dad, he just got the biggest kick out of that. So it was, I always equate Uncle Cliff with that Tyco gift set I got. And some of our last conversations, I reminded him of that and how important that was for us. And, growing up in the country there, he was, down in the Bay Area, so was living a little different life, but I was walking to a bass pond all the time, and I was doing what I could to scratch $1 here or there for my allowance, and would go down to the Rayleigh's supermarket, and I would buy some worms and stuff so I could catch some of these bluegills. So we went down to Uncle Cliff's house there in Livermore, and I told him I was really getting into bass fishing. So he took me into his garage, and he opened his tackle boxes, and my goodness, I mean, it looked like a tackle store in there with all the stuff he had, and he had his bass boat there and pictures of just fish on the walls and stuff, and it was impressive. But then what he did next, he just started handing me just handfuls and handfuls and handfuls of tackle and stuff, and I thought I'd won the lottery that day, because I walked out of that house looking like an Easter basket, just full of everything. I had crankbaits and bass plugs and everything else. So that really probably lasted me the better part of a decade with all the tackle that he gave me as a young man. So I remember also when we would come down, when I was in my teens in high school, trying to figure out what was going to be the best course for me, if I was going to go to college, if I was going to join the military, and I was going to join the trades. And, I wasn't sure. And my dad didn't have a whole ton of, great advice that I didn't feel. So I was just asking everybody I could. And I remember, he was telling me that just all the different opportunities that were out there, if I was just willing to go out there and work and go to work for somebody like he did. So he was kind of telling me some of the stuff, and I was investigating some of the trades. So I remember talking with him about that in my teens. And as an adult, I kind of moved all over the U.S. And whenever I came back, I would always try to catch up with all my family, whatever town I happened to be passing through. And sometimes it wasn't for a long time. But I remember kept coming back and catching up with him several times over the years. And then when my father passed, we would talk quite a bit there, and they were just so close. So at one hand, I know they're back together, reunited. So that's the greatest. And I said I was here a couple summers ago, passing through. I can't remember what I was doing, and then I came down to visit him back in July, and he was in pretty rough shape at the time, but it was great to see him. You could tell he knew I was there, and I told him how much I loved him. And the other thing is he was surrounded by love, which is really at the end of the day, that's all we can all hope for. None of us are getting out of here alive, and my Uncle Cliff was surrounded and loved up until the end. And not everybody gets that luxury. So he was. Everybody worked so hard loving on him. I just think we just think that was wonderful. So I know I'll see him on the other side, and maybe he'll save me a seat in the bass boat up there. So I'm looking forward to that. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to anybody else that has anything they would like to share. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. There's a lot of people here, and I love that. Okay, I had to write him a letter. So this is my letter to Cliff. Dear Cliff, I miss you today. I missed you yesterday, and I will miss you every day for the rest of my life. You were such an amazing person and had a major impact on my life. Your smile was so contagious, even when the smallest things like food or music always turned into an hour-long history lesson that I will remember forever. Not only did I get the opportunity to know you, but I also had the privilege of knowing your family and joining you guys as a family. Through them, I captured the same effect, seeing a little bit of your influence and loving personality. Thank you so much, Cliff, for being a friend and for welcoming me into your wonderful home. I will cherish every moment we ever had together. Love always, Kayla.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Gary Clark. I'm PG&E. I'm a supervisor at Hayward. Cliff worked for me for quite a few years. My good memories of him, we had a lot of good common interests, me and him. We had a bull room and with a TV on it, and every once in a while in the afternoon when I come walking in, he'd have good old Andy Griffith on, some Gunsmoke, some good old shows on. He was a character, and like Justin said, he was larger than life. I mean, especially to me, because he was a big old boy, you know. And yeah, I remember one time he ran a transport, this boom truck trailer. He'd haul equipment, and he always referred to Cody as Junior. I'm gonna take Junior out. We're going to wrestling. He was big into wrestling. And in his little office, he had all the pictures of everybody, Hulk Hogan, you name it. And he had all the little characters strapped on the front of his bumper of the boom truck. And he got hotter than a wet hen one time because I won't name any names, but a couple guys came in and they cut the head. They were messing with. They cut the heads off him. He must have 50 of them on there, and they were messing with him. But yeah, he was pretty upset then. But yeah, old Cliffy, he was a good dude. I like Cliff. We had, like I said, a lot of common interests, the old country music, and gonna miss that old bugger. But God bless the family and friends and family and everybody. And we miss you, Cliff.
Good afternoon. I met Sue and Cliff by design or by purpose. When we have fellowship greeting, I turned around one Sunday and there they were. And I had no idea that I was going to be adopted and that I was going to adopt them, but it happened. The story that I want to share with you with Cliff is he filled my heart with love. I would take him and Sue to doctor's appointments when he could no longer. And he sometimes he could get his seatbelt on, sometimes he couldn't. I'd say, move your buns over and we'll work on it. And he was okay with that. And he would tell me how to drive. And the GPS would say, no, you're not right. Or I would miss the turn and he'd say, well, you did it again. And I said, do you want to go or not? But the most treasured thing that I have right now in my heart, one day he said, well, if you're the pilot, I'm the navigator. And my husband was in construction with Tigert for 31 years, so I had a real affinity for anybody that worked for PG&E or whatever. And he got in his pocket and he pulled out a little envelope, and it had wings in it. And I said, oh my gosh, I've earned my wings. And I love the family. Sue and I are attached at the hip. Cody, he's helped me out so much because I'm alone, and he takes pity on me with his buddies. So we're going to send you off with all the love we have, Cliff, and just enjoy being with your brother.
Invariably, somebody's going to go home and go, I wish I would have said something. I will bring you the microphone if you don't want to come and stand in front of everyone, but if anyone has anything pressing on your heart, just even a few words, this is the time. Well, I do want to say that it's good to see everybody wearing the 49ers garb. I'm sure that tomorrow there's going to be Cliff and some Eagles fans in the same place, sitting there with the best seat in the house, Jesus bringing in the popcorn, saying, don't argue now, it's just a game. But is it? So now we'll have a video montage.
I'll tell you, he's smiling, even though we're sad. I am. He's smiling because he has all of you guys, family, friends that came to celebrate him today. And it means a lot to us. You know, he was a good guy, I'll tell you. When we first met, I wasn't sure. He had this big beard, long hair. And that good friend of mine who introduced us, she goes, "You'll like him." Even her mom said, "You will like him." Well, it didn't take too much to twist my arm after we dated a couple of dates, and it was just like, then I met his family, and it was just like, he was a good guy. He told me from that, he said, "You know what, when I met you, I knew that we would be together forever." And he was right. He was right. So it was only right that we took care of him the last 4 years, and sadly, the last 4 months. We tried our best. He tried really hard to be here for us because he knew that it would be hard. It would be hard for me and for Cody and for Kayla, but, you know, to tell him to go on December 1st, for me to tell him to go was very hard. It's hard to tell somebody that they need to go. I did that with my mom. I did that a few times, and it's not easy. But sometimes that is, you know, he's out of pain, and I know he's with us every day. He gets me through these hard days. So anyway, yeah, we gave Cliff the best of care these last 4 years, these last 4 months. He appreciated it. We tried to make him as comfortable as we could, especially when we had to bring him home on hospice. We just surrounded him with all his familiar things and everything. And I'm just so glad that him and I got to do some fun things before his health went. When he first retired, I said, "Okay, we're going, we're doing everything." And I'm glad we did, because I knew at some point, I didn't know that he would have all these other things that ended up catching on to him. But I knew at some point that his health would go, and sort of thought mine would go first, but his kicked in instead. So anyway, he took care of me back in the day. He did take a break from PG&E, even though that was his life. PG&E was definitely his life. He did love his family, but when we needed him, he took a break from PG&E. And but I miss his dimples, his big dimples, his beautiful smile that would just light up the room, his hugs, our talks, his company, and his great big green eyes that nobody has. And his last few months, sadly, his voice would come and go. He would try to say something, but we knew what he needed and what he was trying to say, but the one word he could get out is "okay." So "okay" would be his "thank you," his "I love you," his "we can do this." It was for everything. He tried to get stronger and tried to be able to get back on his feet, and he just couldn't get his strength back at all. Sadly, he lost his battle. At least he is out of pain. I'm so glad we got to have one-on-one time with him for the last 4 months. December 1st, that morning, broke my heart when I saw him and his only one eye would open. And I had to tell him to go and that I would miss him lots, but God needed him. His brother and his family needed him, and I would join him one day. He will be the love of my life always, and one day we will be together again. I just have this little poem, if I can see if I can read this. This is just a loving memory of a special husband, which he is, he always will be. He's just with me anyway. When God was making husbands, as far as I can see, he made this special soulmate, especially for me. He made me a gentleman, a compassionate and kind, with more love and affection than you could wish to find. He gave my darling husband a heart of gold. He gave us wonderful memories only my heart can hold. He was someone I could talk with that no one can replace. He was someone I could laugh with till tears would run down our face. And next time we meet, we will be at heaven's door. When I see him standing there, I won't cry anymore. I will put my arms around him and kiss his smiling face. Then the pieces of my broken heart will fall all back into place. I miss him so much. He will always be forever in our hearts, and I will always love him forever. Okay.
All right. All right. Let's have some fun, huh? First, I want to say thank you for everyone who came out today. Truly appreciate it. It's great to see all the red and gold represented here today. He would have really got a kick out of that for sure. Before I get into too many stories, I do want to take some time to thank a few people first. First off, just everyone here at First Christian Church who's helped put this together today, who's reached out, in the last 2 months or so, and even earlier than that, just to check on my dad, check on my mom, check on how we're doing, what's been going on, and everything like that. Very grateful for everybody here. They say it takes a village, and we had some great villagers over the past 4 years to help with my dad. Kevin and Kim Liu, Mike Carlson, my dad's captain, Sandy, who I remember. My dad definitely wasn't into technology by any means. And so when he wanted to, one day he came up with the idea for her wings. He asked me like, can you find these or what? I was like, yeah. I was like, you can find anything online, So sure enough, it punched up a couple and like, oh, what about this or that? And he's like, oh yeah, those ones. And, got it. And then the next time he saw her, then he gave them to her. My Aunt Karen and Uncle Riney, thank you. My girlfriend Kayla, who I just feel forever grateful to in her helping all that time and at the house, and I know how hard it was and the long days and nights and everything like that, so I truly appreciate it. Also, her work field house and the people there, just to be a shoulder for her too, as she was also going through it just as much as anyone else. And of course my mom, who sacrificed a lot in taking care of him and being at home, but just seeing the time they had together, the relationship they had together, her, of course, staying true to her vows of, in sickness and in health, it was just really a beautiful thing to see and watch over the years. There's some people that aren't here today, but I'd also like to thank 4 women in particular, Dorothy, Rose, Blanche, and Sophia. I'll get into them a little bit later, though, as the story's going to go, but you can kind of assume maybe who that might be. And also someone, Teddy Long, honestly. We've gone to tons of wrestlings, traveled around everywhere from the Cow Palace to Fresno to here to Arco when we lived in the Bay. Then me and my buddy Landon, we've gone to WrestleManias around the country. And at the WrestleManias, they have a convention there where you can meet some wrestlers, personalities, things like that. So we'll try and go to that. Almost 3 years ago now, we went to the one in LA, and Teddy Long was going to be there. Teddy Long was this guy. He was a manager, referee. He did a lot. Never really wrestled, but he did a lot of different stuff for the company. But when he was the manager, his whole thing was, holla, 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 and, let me tell you something, playa kind of stuff. And my dad just got a kick out of that. And one of the photos we actually even had, it's him holding up a shirt, and it says holla, holla, holla on it. And I was like, man, okay, he's going to be there. I'm going to get him a signed photo. That would be something cool for him, And so we're waiting in line for him, and I tell him the story, my dad's a big fan, and wish he could, meet you and everything. He's like, well, can we call him? And I was like, oh, I guess, sure. And so, I get on the phone, and of course, didn't answer, and I was like, oh no, maybe, bathroom, doing something, who knows? So I was like, oh, sorry. He's like, oh, it's okay, I'll help a couple people. And so then Mom calls back, and I'm telling her, and she's like, no way. And so then hand him the phone and hand Teddy Long the phone, and they talk for a couple minutes, and my dad could still talk then, but didn't say much. But of course, he's like, oh, holla, holla, and all that to him. And I think Teddy Long got a kick out of it too, and that was just really cool. It was kind of like almost, I don't want to say like a Make-A-Wish deal, but at the same time, that was something that really made him. And then even later on, he would talk about it, oh, remember when he called and stuff? He was like, yeah, so that was really cool. Again, with the wrestling, I've liked it since I was 4 or 5, and then we started to go probably when I was maybe 6 or so. We would go to, mostly it was Oakland or the Cow Palace, depending on the organization. And then I got my buddy Landon into it, and we just made a day out of it. Of course, traveled there to San Jose. But the one I think I'll always remember is when we took him to WrestleMania 31. That was in Santa Clara at Levi Stadium. We have the photos in the slide. That was just really cool for him to see, for one, the stadium that the Niners play in, but also just that big and that magnitude of an event that it was. And, it takes over the whole town, and it's just a whole big, thing. So that was my one real pride one in taking him to that. My dad and music. He loved music, all kinds of music, country to, classic rock, just everything. Doo-wop, he was a big fan of doo-wop. I remember, of course, then I was kind of raised all on that stuff and mostly on country. But then, of course, I guess as I got to be a rebellious teenager, kind of found my own path into music. Starting to like my own stuff as well, styles. And I remember one time, it was probably about 2000, I was in the house, just in the living room, watching music videos, and there was this band, Mudvayne video, Dig, came on. And this band, Mudvayne, they're all painted faces, dyed hair, the whole crazy thing, right? Whole thing. And my dad, we can even use this example, he walks by, and he kind of looks, and then looks at me, and then he just kind of puts his head down, and kind of, I'm sure, I kind of lost him on that one, right? He's probably like, oh, I don't know where I went wrong, but, he loved his job. He loved PG&E to death. If only everybody could find a love and do what they want to do like he did, because he just loved it. He would grumble. He definitely grumble about certain things or people or whatever, but he loved it, and he loved the brotherhood too of it. He loved the guys, and I think when he retired, he of course missed the work, but I think he missed just talking and hanging out with the guys. Some things I would say, if I could pick three things probably my dad didn't like, you can kind of say, is tomatoes. Definitely was not a fan of those. Chevrolets. And of course, the infamous, dreaded Dallas Cowboys. And then, as you saw on the slides, I had to kind of put in there, the shaggin' wagon, which for people that have known us longer from the Bay Area, we had this 1978 Ford Fairmont station wagon that is a light chamois color. It's French. And yeah, it was famous around Livermore, that's for sure. We drove around that thing, and it was like, all right, but had a lot of good times in that car. Then later on, we started to doodle on the roof of it, because the liner was coming down, and we put our names on it. So we had a little collection of people that had rode, in the car, up there, which he was mad about. And I was like, "Are you seeing this thing? What do you think is gonna, come on." And then one time, someone, I think, tried to steal the stereo or something. I don't know what happened, but the window broke in the car, on the passenger side. And so then, instead of just him "Oh, we'll just get a new window," he's like, "Oh, I'm going to Pick and Pull. We'll just get a door." So then we have this, we have this station wagon, light chamois color, with a silver primer door, but the window worked, so we had a window. So that was kind of a wild time. I feel like nowadays, I'm sure some people have seen it, where they do Instagram, you can follow the people's car, right, if it's something real nice. But I think it probably would have been a joke to make an actual account of, the shaggin' wagon and its adventures. And then going into cars, he loved, of course, just cars in general, hot rods, trucks, all that. Absolutely loved them. But he loved NASCAR. It would be on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Anytime it was on at the house. So much so, even if we were coming from church, from San Lorenzo, on the drive home, it'd be on the radio if it was on. And if not, he wouldn't be too happy about it not being on the radio. We got to go to some cool racetracks. We went to Sears Point, Sonoma. We went to Fontana. We went to Indianapolis, and all those photos are kind of in there too, in the front of the racetrack. The one photo I put in there, it's me and him sitting on a crown, in a king's throne. That was at Eldora Speedway in Rossburg, Ohio. When summer is probably 97 or 98, we went back to Ohio to visit family, which then that's where we went to Indianapolis Speedway, the Hall of Fame, which was there, the Football Hall of Fame. And then we wanted to go to Eldora. So then we go to Eldora with some relatives out there. We go to the track, and it was totally open. Back east, it's all open. And so we went out there, looked around the track and everything, and then he's looking around. He's like, "Well, where's Eldora?" And his uncle was like, "This is Eldora." And he's like, "Well, he thought there was a city of Eldora." And he's like, "No, this is it." And he's like, "Oh, all right." And so looking in, Rossburg, like I said, is where it's at, has a huge population of 159 people. And then, of course, that was kind of the joke after that, was for the rest of the trip, "Well, where's Eldora?" So people from Ohio got a big kick out of that. These are kind of a couple of stories. We're not laughing with him, not at him, but he had a kick out of it when it happened. One time I was taking Prime, our dog, for a walk. I get a phone call. I'm about halfway through the walk, right in the middle of it. I get a phone call from Mom. "Hey, your dad's stuck in the tub." And I'm like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh God." Okay. I'll be there in like 10 minutes. I'm right in the middle, And so I get home, get the dog situated and go into the bathroom. And sure enough, I think he was sitting on just the edge of the toilet and lost balance and just fell back into it. Softly, but fell back into it. But he couldn't pull himself up. And so I walk in the bathroom and I see him there, and he just starts laughing. And I'm just like, what happened? What'd you do? And, he's like, oh yeah, he's like, should take a photo, this will make a good Christmas card, And so, I helped him get up and everything, and he was fine. That was one of his more gentler falls, actually. Another time, come home from work, would always come in, turn to where he was in his chair, kind of greet him and stuff, and be like, oh, how's your day? And he'd be like, oh, I broke the toilet. And I'm like, what do you mean you broke the toilet? And then sure enough, Mom comes, down the hallway. He broke the toilet today. And I was like, oh, go in. And yeah, the whole base of the toilet was broke. And so I had to go and, replace that. Had to do that a couple of times, sadly, but it was just, and so then after, of course, she came in to tell me about it. He just started laughing like, oh, what can you do, Christmas this year, of course, was hard. It was different. It was definitely a different Christmas. It was, very casual. It was just the three of us. We were all just together, opening presents, everything like that. And then all of a sudden, this beeping starts. We're like, where's the beeping come from? I thought it was one of the fire smoke detectors or something, We're like, oh, what the heck? And then it does it again. And then we go and look, and sure enough, it was his diabetic monitor was going off. And that kind of all took us a step back, but it was good, because we knew he was there. He was there. That was his sign. Because we hadn't heard that go. The battery was dying is what it was. It was warning us the battery was dying, but we hadn't heard it go off in over a month because no need to, right? But that was pretty cool, pretty powerful. Speaking also of Christmas, one thing I'll probably always remember with him in Christmas, of course, every year at least once, watching the Christmas Story, during the whole 24-hour marathon, we'd always laugh and get a kick out of that. And I think he kind of related to the dad a lot in that one, just with, grumbling and trying to, just have nice things and try and, always wouldn't really work out. But we always loved that. On the opposite side of that with Christmas, man, he always procrastinated Christmas shopping. It was always just like to the very last weekend, the very last day or two, he'd always just put it off, which then I would always go with him as a little kid just to he would take the last couple weeks off of the year off just to be with us and everything, and I would have winter break. But I would go with him, just to hang out with, Dad and everything. But then as the years went on, it was more like, oh no, you should go, make sure he doesn't end up in jail or go crazy or something, So he was like, all right, I'll go. And then I would almost try and, I would ask, why do you wait? Oh, I don't know, just what it is. And then, even Landon or some of my buddies be like, oh, your dad start yet? And I'd be like, nope. Sure not. It's going to be another Cliff Good, adventure. Remember when I was starting this with the thank yous, there was those four women, Dorothy, Rose, Blanche, and Sophia. If you guys don't know, of course, those are the Golden Girls. We watched, which we would watch on rotation all the time, day and night. If it was on, he would want to watch them. And it was great. It was fun. It's funny. It's a funny show. It's a funnier show now, being older. But, yeah, it was when he still really laughed. It was a genuine real laugh. And that was really just great to hear. So thank them for that. Anyway, with wrapping this up, I would just like to say thank you all again. Dad, I love you. I miss you. This isn't goodbye. It's just to see you later. Till all are one. Thank you for being a friend. And don't you worry. I'll always remember. Oh. Oh. It's supposed to just be the one. Not. To F the Dallas Cowboys.
Let's sing it for Cliff then. How Great Thou Art, number 33. Thanks to Kristen and Justin and all who read. And peace be upon all those who grieve and mourn Cliff's passing. May your trees become full of fruit, and may your fields bloom many flowers. The sun will rise upon you. The warm breeze will carry you, and the tranquility of love will clothe you. Cody, Sue, Kayla, to everyone, I am sorry for your loss. And now let us pray. Gracious God, we thank you for this day and all things in it. We thank you that we are able to rise up and participate in the fruits of your bounty together and talk about and spread our love together for your son, Cliff. And bless those who are not able to do so. And oh, great Creator, bless the hands that have prepared the meal, the people who tended it and delivered it, and the earth that provides sustenance for all of us. Amen. recess out. You're welcome to follow us and join us in the fellowship hall where we'll continue